school system. I think we teach people to dislike puzzles, to be uneasy with uncertainty, because that's what a puzzle is. And that's why science is so robust. They love puzzles, and you gotta love puzzles, and they're wonderful. But I find most people are pretty troubled by them. That's too bad.
Sir, agreed.
This is for Professor Walmsley. I had a question for you. My question is, if you value tolerance so much, would you tolerate intolerance? And if you would not, upon what moral authority would you be intolerant of intolerance?
My immediate response is to quote Shakespeare, a lot of sound and fury signify nothing. You know, that's a lot of words, but I don't have the foggiest idea what you mean, to be honest about it. We'd have to take a look and kind of tease apart those words. Yeah, you know, words are all we have. Let's face it. And we have to use them. We're stuck with them. We just don't have any alternative. And they obviously have their limitations. But you know what? I said it before, and I'm going to stick by it. We need a lot more tolerance than we got. There is a lot of intolerance in the world, and I think we recognize it when we see it. It is the choking off of dialogue, the choking off of humility, and all of these are wonderful things that we need to preserve. And if anything, we just need a whole lot more tolerance than we've got.
If I could perhaps clarify my question.
No.
If you value tolerance so much, how do you condemn intolerance?
How can I condemn intolerance? I guess it depends on how big their gun is. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean.
You know, it's a matter of how much time have you got to be tolerant. Quite obviously, we will tolerate global warming only so long. There's a very big thing going on out there that we probably don't have too much time until we have so despoiled our environment that you know, it's the height of arrogance for human beings to think they can destroy the earth, but it is not the height of arrogance, it is the height of wisdom to believe that human beings can destroy the world that they can live in. Now, beetles are going to be quite fine. Slugs are going to even be better off. We are not going to destroy those things. But we got to start doing something about it. And if that means I'm intolerant of pollution, so be it. I'm intolerant of racial prejudice. I'm intolerant of the sexism that I see so pervasive in our society, and on and on and on. I mean, the words are all we have. But having said that, I'm really saying the same thing, aren't I? I mean, waking up to what's going on around you, what are these high arousal stimuli that are threatening. I mean, we resort to what Darwin said we all have, and that is, we want to survive. How do you survive? Well, one of them is understanding what the threat is. What's hiding behind that rock, or behind those trees, or whatever. Follow me?
Dr. Emmrich?
Well, I think you just discovered the possibility of deconstructing your own argument. Because that is what you're doing. You're turning in circles. You're saying we need a lot more tolerance, we need plenty of tolerance, and at the same time you say, I do not tolerate this, and I do not tolerate that. Who in the world do you think you are?
A bundle of contradictions wrapped in a paradox surrounded by a conundrum. Winston Churchill.
Sir, in the back.
My question is for both of you. To Dr. Emmrich, I would ask you, what's the biggest danger that you see with the current trend of tolerance and intolerance, the idea of tolerance and that push in our culture? And to Professor Wormsley, I would ask, what is the greatest benefit that you see with this current trend towards tolerance?
To answer your question, I would say the greatest danger I see in regards to the new tolerance is that it results in intolerance, that we cannot meet publicly anymore and talk about our beliefs. We may agree or we may disagree, but we need to be able to continue to dialogue, to talk to each other, and to evaluate the claims that we hold. I think that that's the greatest danger, and if you think about the speech codes that exist even here at OSU, these are very, very intolerant. Some of them at least are. Speech codes. Speech codes at campus such as OSU.
Speech?
Yes.
I don't know what that is. Could somebody tell me what that is?
The rules about what you can and can't say and not get in trouble.
Here?
Yeah.
Politically correct.
Politically correctness, very
Yeah,
good. That's
political
a term.
correctness, yeah.
Who's censoring speech here?
Would you like to respond?
Do you know the answer?
I think he needs to answer the question. You were asked the question by the gentleman in the back row.
Can you please repeat the question? I didn't.
What is the danger?
My question was, Dr. Emmrich already answered. My question to you is, what's the greatest danger that you see, or not danger, sorry, the greatest benefit that you see with the current trend of tolerance?
My inclination is that you have a straw man here. I don't for the life of me see this trend you're talking about, this ugly beast that's about to take over our world. I don't know what, I really don't know what you're talking about. If anything, I see a kind of a conformity in our society that frightens me a good deal more than this kind of thing. A kind of a lockstep agreement with things that I think we probably ought to challenge. But I don't know. I don't see this thing you're talking about.
Ma'am.
I certainly don't see it in my students. Let me put it that way.
My question is for Mark. You talked about truth being shared among minds, so that and my impression was that the more minds that agreed that it would be a truth. What about truth as it changes, such as an example that the world is flat, it's no longer flat. So how do you deal with truth as it changes?
Well, here again you have the difficulty or the problem, the dilemma of human language. Human language is arbitrary, and yet the concepts that it refers to are not arbitrary. So if I say, well, to use the example that we used earlier, apple means apple, and when you say the word apple, I relate to, or I call to mind all the qualities of appleness. The word can be exchanged for orange, or for jacket, or for shoe, but the concept that is signified by the word still calls to mind the unchangeable character of an apple. What is an apple? It has certain characteristics, and I call on them to identify it. Now, in regards to the concern that you voiced that truth is changing, you haven't really said that truth is changing. What you have said is that our perception of it has changed. While I used to believe because I had lack of evidence or scientific grounding, the earth is flat. I now know it isn't because I have more evidence and a greater pool of scientific, call them truths, to draw from.
Dr. Robinson, would you like to respond?
Well, I'm fascinated also with language, but now I think I'm a little clearer as to what you mean. And my students have all heard this, and there are a number of them here. I like this illustration much better. What is this, class?
That's a cup.
Oh, it's a cup. You got cups at home?
Yes.
Yeah. You got cups in your cupboard? Do they look like this?
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of, but, you know, somewhat different. Right, exactly. Why do you call this a cup?
Because it is a cup.
It is a cup.
It has all the cupness.
Oh, the cupness! Yes, the cup.